Welcome to the Bryan Behavioral Finance Podcast, where we unravel the mysteries of behavioral finance and unlock the secrets to making smarter, more informed decisions with your money. Now, here's your host, Dr. Bryan Foltis.
Thanks, everybody, for joining today. I am super excited to introduce you to my friend Randy Brown, who is also now my partner in crime, somehow got associated with me on this Money Strong program that we're about to roll out here in next week. So we're recording this on a Friday morning, set to post it shortly after our Monday evening first kickoff session. Randy, thank you so much for joining today.
Hey, Bryan, it's great to be here with you today. I'm excited.
This is the first guest on the podcast that is not my wife. So thank you. And we're just going to keep fingers crossed that everything sounds good. You look good, and we'll roll from here.
I'm happy to be second to your wife. I can't complain about that.
Pretty good company, actually. Yes. So we're going to get into a conversation about this Money Strong program that we've created and somehow launched. And this has been a long time in the making, but we want to get to know you as well. And some of our listeners are former students and current students, but then we also have an audience outside of that we want to introduce you to because there's a really interesting story behind it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick overview. Originally from Northeastern Ohio, I was the first in my family to go to college. I studied economics. I thought I wanted to be a teacher, but I also was a little worried about economics and I wanted to make a little money. And so I tried the private sector, and I thought the blending of my aspirations with business would work well in an area called HR. And at the time, HR was really changing and becoming less of what on the office, that wonky guy that no one ever wants to talk to, and really more of a, how can I help the business be better and how can I help people develop their careers? So I got very fortunate to jump into that career. I spent 33 years in it. 19 years was in the television business, consumer electronic, not the sexy part of television, the hardware, right? The TVs, right? I was with RCA, and then GE acquired us at a great time, and I learned a lot. Thomson, a multinational French company. And then, let's see, when was it? It was 2001. I became the chief HR officer at a company here in Indy called Anthem. Anthem was a great time because they were just about to go public and they wanted to do a lot of mergers and acquisitions. And those two things really resonated with me. I spent 13 years there. We grew the company from 15,000 to 45,000 people. A large amount of that was merger and acquisition. We did 10 when I was there. So it's easy to buy a company. It's hard to put it together. And that was a lot of my focus. Loved it. Had a wonderful, I feel very blessed to have had a great career. Lovely, beautiful wife for 37 years, 2 great kids, son and daughter. But at 55, I wanted to do something that I'd never done before and be very intentional about it. What I had no idea was that Butler had the thing waiting for me that was exactly what I wanted to do. And it's a career mentor role here that Butler has. So every student in school business gets one. We work together all 4 years to help the students figure out what they want to do and then go get it, including 2 internships and a full-time job. And bragging on Butler a little bit, we got a 99% placement rate. That means if you come here, you will leave with a job. And we try and make it a job that you really love. So been doing that. I worked with MBAs as a leadership coach for a while, but have been at Butler now for 10 years and just couldn't be happier. It's a wonderful place.
Oh, that's amazing. How, when you were making that transition from Anthem, head of HR, what is it, Fortune 20 company, how did you get connected to Butler? What was the bridge that brought you into the business school?
Such a great lesson. So here's what I learned. I learned that if you want to make that transition into life after traditional career, you got to articulate out loud to a lot of people the type of thing that's interesting. And so I started doing that about 6 months before I wrapped it up. And of all people, I was meeting with my financial advisor, and he had a sort of a junior woodchuck in the background that always took notes and didn't say anything. His name was Andrew Cottrell. Andrew was about 25. And as I'm articulating it to the swells, Andrew finally speaks up and says, I went to Butler University, and I think what you're describing is a program that I had as a student. So here it was, a 25-year-old young man who went to Butler was my lead Butler. And it was just, if you talk about networking and articulating what you want and who knows who's out there who can help you, 25-year-old young professional connected me to what I wanted to do. He introduced me to his career mentor, who introduced me to the person who ran the program, and I was in.
That was it after. That
Was it?
is incredible. And so you and I were talking as well before we hopped on the recording here, that we have silos where the faculty are running the classrooms, but then the career mentors are also working behind the scenes in a very impactful way, using just being a mentor to students, which is what we believe is very unique for our students, to give them both of those sides.
Yeah, it is great. And yeah, we complement what you guys do. You work inside the classroom to help them grow, expand their skills and knowledge. And we work with them outside the classroom to try and apply that, put it to work in the pursuit of career. But I will tell you, one of the most fun things is to have worked with you closely on this initiative. It's not something that often happens, but our common passions pulled us together. And so here we are. And plus, my reputation went up because I get to work with you now, the cool professor who teaches finance.
That's debatable, but happy to hear that.
We'll go with it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, first of all, let's talk broadly before we get into the financial literacy part. What do you see with students? So you're meeting with them on a day-to-day basis. You're seeing what they're doing. What are some themes that you're able to pull out from talking to a large number of our business students?
The beauty of what I do is you get to know them well over a 4-year journey. And what I see is the transition that happens between 18 and 22 is enormous. You come in and you're a high school kid who doesn't keep a calendar. You don't know how to manage your time. You don't know what the future is going to hold. You're a little nervous and excited. By the time you leave, they blow themselves out of the water by how much they've grown, how much they've become more confident and able to do things they never did before. So the journey through college to me is a journey of exploration and self-confidence building. And I get to see that in just very wonderful ways. But I noticed too that sometimes universities are so good at academic preparation, but they're not as good at life preparation, right? All the dancers, all the teachers, all the social workers, the scientists, and the business students, when they get out of here, they're going to have to pay the bills. They're going to learn what credit scores are and rent and all that. And so academic institutions can sometimes have blind spots about preparation for practical day-to-day life and minimize that. So I think we might have stumbled on one here. But overall, back to your general question before you get into financial literacy, I think students learn at least as much outside the classroom as they learn in the classroom. They learn how to get along, how to meet new people, how to be the masters of their own destiny for the first time. There's no bell telling them what to do next. There's no mom and dad telling them what to do next. It's them. And so helping them figure out how to own their life and decide what to do. It's a little scary, but it's great fun and very empowering.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I've increased my awareness around is some of the students and how a lot of us are from the Midwest. And so we're always told to really be humble and not promote ourselves. And then suddenly we're supposed to go get a job and we have to go promote ourselves. And
Interviewing is professional bragging.
Yeah. And then we have to then deal with another concept called rejection that nobody talks about as well. And I've started to be more aware of some of the students who are going through this process, that I start to see their demeanor slip. Go, when I finally get to the core of what's going on here, it's they're going, yeah, I'm having a hard time finding jobs, which they're essentially saying I'm getting rejected and I don't know how to cope with this. Nobody ever talked to me about this. And that's certainly not in our classrooms.
It's huge. And I always like to say that the career search is a full contact sport, that sooner or later you will get punched in the nose and it won't feel good. And, but I always also encourage my students I send them the link to the Brene Brown talk on vulnerability, because it basically, her point is the only way you move forward in life is to embrace vulnerability and rejection. And it's also the birthplace of courage. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it is scary. And that's one of the reasons we're here, to help them, pick them up, dust them off, be their advocate, and help them move forward.
Absolutely. And so you've been meeting with students. How do you slip into the world of financial literacy? Where does that come into your career mentor conversations?
Yeah. It, when you meet with them, one of the things I've learned is uh, there's not just like career as the topic, it's their life, right? What's going on if their parents get separated, or if I've had students talk about breakups with girlfriends, boyfriends. If they're not in a great mood when it's time for your one-on-one, what's going on? How's life? And so students will go, if they trust you and you built a relationship, they'll talk to you about whatever is most on their mind. So I got involved in this when 2017, a joyous occasion, student said, "Hey, got that first job. We were celebrating. He was 21. I said, let's go to Chatham Tap. Let's toast your success." So he was in for that. We did. And we were sitting there at this joyous moment. And he said, "Hey, can I talk to you about something else?" He said, "I'm worried because even though I've got my first full-time job, I've got a massive amount of student loan debt and I have no idea what to do. And I don't know how to talk to my parents about it. And is there any way you can help me?" And he told me the number and I tried not to gulp. And I said, "Yeah, let me look around." And I knew there would be a resource for students here. I've stunned myself because Butler is such an amazing place in terms of its culture and helpfulness, that there was no really one spot to help people figure out how to live their financial lives after graduation. We could give them a lot of info on here's how to get loans. We get factual stuff on how they're accumulating, what types they are, great guidance for financial aid. But at Butler and almost every university, financial aid office is to help you figure out a financial plan post-graduation. And so we help kids get physically fit, we have a great counseling center. We have a spiritual center. We have all these resources. But when it came to their financial well-being, no go-to place. And so it was because of that it hit my radar screen. And then next year, another kid came forward and another kid. And I thought, wait a minute, this is a problem. It's not just a one-off. And so that's when I said, maybe I should be a catalyst here and figure out what we could do.
And didn't we find out that there's a number around there, 56% of students checking into the mental health services are financial related? That
Yeah.
just blows me away. And it was pretty resounding that there was a major need here. And so you recognize this in your world. And
Right.
ever since I went onto campus, I had recognized this and had wanted to be a champion of this, and was running into my own obstacles, trying
Right.
to figure out how do you navigate the entire system. I barely have my
Right.
head around the business school.
Right. And how did it, I was curious, I don't think I've ever asked, how did it become like a passion thing for you?
This comes from my upbringing and going through childhood, adolescence, young adult, and never having conversations with my family, my
Mhm.
parents. And the only conversations I recall about money were when I was in college. I owed them $2,000 because they wanted to claim me as a dependent on their taxes. And then, after that, it was I just recall the other time talking about money was after my dad passed away sitting down with my mom, and she had no idea what was going on and was totally
Okay.
lost as to what to do. And I just remembered
Okay.
those moments, and I just remember thinking to myself, first of all, I had to go through all of the lessons the hard way in my 20s and work my way
Mhm.
out of my own debt, change the whole
Yep.
trajectory of my finances. But then I remember using those experiences to really get passionate about helping other people and being a resource for them that I never had when I was in college. I get goosebumps just talking about that because I
Of
go,
course.
I'm perfectly positioned in a university when students can make those, or before they make the dumb decisions, before they're set free to make all the bad
Right.
decisions that I made. And that gives me a lot of passion and a lot of purpose around what we're trying to do as far as helping
It's,
students.
it's fascinating because isn't it interesting how anybody who seems to get rallied up around something they want to do to make a difference, there's usually something personal that drives them, right? And your personal life experience drove you. I was the same way in that I remember when all we had was landline phones, and my dad said, "Don't answer the phone on Fridays." And one time I did answer the phone, and it was because household finance, the companies that charged you 20% for loans were calling because we had overdue debt. And it was like, okay, it was like, run from it. Don't, it was like a taboo topic. Don't talk about money struggles. And then yet I knew we had them, right? I knew when the Thursday before paycheck came because it was always tuna noodle casserole and whatever we could hobble together. And it's people live with that all the time. And so when you see the stress it creates for people that you care about in your life and then what it you and then you see students that we're here because we love these kids, right? And when we see students that we care about struggling, it makes you want to do something. And so that it's very interesting how
Wow.
life experience helps us decide where we want to focus our time.
Absolutely. And this, and now we're both motivated, right? We're both at Butler. We're both motivated. We've never met each other. And
Right.
so I'm working the system at the business school.
Right.
And I was essentially told for a while, a credit union took over some of these things that they're paying for.
Right.
Stand down. That was what I got from the dean suite. And I said, oh, just be, but they said it in a nice way. They said, be patient. It'll play out. And so I saw what they were rolling out and said, this helped formulate our program because what
Right.
they were proposing was, we're going to send you a bunch of online resources and go do it. And I really feel like they're helping somebody. And we go, no,
Right.
that's not going to be our approach. We'll have online resources, but only after we get in front of them and engage face to face. And so, Randy, tell me now about what you were doing leading up to our conversation.
Yeah, it's so funny because how we met in the middle, totally doing the same thing. But when I passionate about this, met with a lot of people. I met with a wonderful person who runs financial aid here. I did some research on what other schools did. And I talked to the guy at Indiana University who ran a financial literacy program who's on the cutting edge of it. So I got some data about what could be. And then I began, because I had done some projects at the university level, I started engaging, thankfully, President Danko and some of his direct reports about this topic. And everybody it would resonate with them. Yes, we should do something, right? Yes, we should do something. And then COVID came. And of course, that distracted us from anything new for 2 years for all the reasons we understand. But after COVID, I cranked it up and said, well, we do something now. And I got the kind of same thing. We got the credit union who's already doing stuff. There's online stuff. And I kept saying, but no, that doesn't work. Those things are just not designed to catch kids and engage them. So the bottom line is I was in this mode where I was asking the university to dedicate resources and funds to do something unique that wasn't already in place. And people, they just didn't quite know how to handle it. And so I would always be encouraged, like, this is good stuff you're doing. Keep going. But no, we don't have any people for you. And no, we don't have any money for you. So I remember one time you'll remember this. We both learned about each other. We both learned we were working on this. I had just come down from one of these we love what you're doing, but we don't have anything for you. And you saw me was in Dugan Hall, and we both knew by that time we wanted to do something. And you said, I won't use your exact quote, but you basically said, let's just do this, right? Let's just do this. And that was the beginning of you made me think, why do we need money and resources? Everybody wants something to happen here. There's nobody who would say no to this. We just have to figure out how to bring it to life. And it was very empowering.
Absolutely. And so the way I recall it too, Randy, was that we both heard it. I knew who you were for all these years and heard all these wonderful things. And it was just a couple of people in the same week said, you need to meet with Randy Brown.
Mhm.
And so I said, okay, fine. That's when we finally reached out. And it was that moment when we were meeting in my office on the first time where you could just feel the energy, where you were missing all the pieces that I was missing from a broad standpoint you had been working on. And
Right.
some of the pieces that you were looking for and the champion and some sort of faculty content wise person, that was me. And so we
Right.
suddenly merged. And I just remember that being a very impact meeting that we continued to build off of throughout the semester. But that was my 9th year. This is my 10th. That was 9 years on campus before that moment happened. And sure enough, things started falling into place. We weren't getting the traction that we wanted to. And
Right.
so this was going to be our mission statement. And I just said, fuck it, let's go. And that was,
It was
fuck
right.
it, let's do it. And
I wanted to let you deliver the exact quote.
yeah. And this podcast is not related to Butler in any way. I've got disclaimers out there. But
it was like when Simon met Garfunkel. It's like you had the things I didn't have. You had content. You're a subject matter expert on the topic of personal finance. You know how to engage. It's what you do for a living. I knew what needed to be put together holistically to create a program.
Yeah.
And I had a university approach that I had been working for a while. So between the two of us, we had complementary skills, but a common passion. And we just said, let's prove that even if you don't have any money or any resources, you can make something happen that's useful. And that's where it all started.
Yeah. And so last spring, we started running some pilots and was getting in front of, I spoke in front of 120 sorority sisters, and they didn't crucify me, which were a major win, but it was really eye-opening because you can see them coming to a finance topic. They were very reluctant. And you could just see the walls coming down when we were talking to them going, it's not that bad. We need to engage. We need to have these conversations. And so all of these signs were really encouraging, coupled with the data that we would get from everybody saying, man, we are hungry for this. We need some sort of outlet. And that was our green light over the summer to build this out. And that's where we are today, doing presentations in front of the entire university. So hopefully we'll have a good report here. We've got 200-seat auditorium and video. We're going to have that set up and make this accessible to all business students, or not all Butler students, not just business students.
And I think that's that when you think about this, there are some key things that I think have made this come together. And when we thought comprehensively about what we needed to offer, and one was what we're calling these money talks, where you're giving large group talks about money, how to think about it, how to plan for it, how to grow it. And you're talking at the level where it meets where a student is. So those money talks are where we're trying to drive kids. We got the university to miraculously approve this as something called a BCR credit, right? Which every student needs 8 of, right? It's an outside the classroom expansive thing that Butler wants kids to do. And so it has traditionally been centered around the arts, but thankfully, kudos to our provost, who I think paved the way, saying we need to get kids to do this, and we got approval for that. No matter how compelling the topic is, students need an incentive to go to something at 7 at night. And we have that. even though the university didn't always give us money or people, they opened doors for us to create incentives for this to work with our kids. And we're forever grateful for that. We have volunteers, people who are in the profession of giving financial advice to be available for one-on-one support when we have a student that's in a very complex situation where the group stuff is useful, but they're still stressed because they need a little more than that. And so, but the combination of volunteers that are just giving their time, who are in the profession, the provost and her team to open doors, to create incentives, a former alum who's going to do a webinar on student loans, who is wanting to give back. It's an amazing, and even people who are helping us with communication, getting the word out through various means, Instagram and so forth. So, this cobbled together thing has gone way beyond you and I. It's going into
Absolutely.
people outside of Butler. And I think probably if you looked at the community of who's helping us put this together, it's upwards of 15, 20 people right now. I'm grateful that this coalition of the willing has come together, and we're really exciting because we're almost ready to launch.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, when we were making the program, putting the pieces together, we realized like we're going to engage, and then we have resources to empower that will fill in. And we're even offering outlets for non-business classes to offer some of the follow-up items as extra credit items, and giving them outlets to submit their budget when they want to, and we can review it. And then we have the support, which you're mentioning here, that just goes way beyond what you and I are doing. It is the one-on-one. We always say, hey, we're one click away, either on Canvas or on bryanfoltes.com, to tee up a conversation or an appointment to talk to somebody.
Right.
We have a large wealth advisors here as well, who can meet one-on-one, who are willing to do that free of charge. And then what we're also haven't talked about yet is our new personal finance club.
Exactly.
And so now we have that support mechanism in place. Can you talk a little bit more about what happened with that club? Because that just really was a miraculous gift.
Yes, we had a club called FMA, Financial Management Association.
Yep.
That I think, and so it was a financially oriented club, but it was the focus wasn't personal finance. And so we even asked your colleague, I think Tom Hansen, who was the faculty advisor to the other club, should we blend the two? And he said, no, this needs its own thing, its own attention.
Yep.
We said, great, we'll be the advisors to this club, we'll shape it. And because I've worked with students who I know aspired to this profession of being a financial advisor, I thought, let's get a couple of those kids who are into the topic of giving financial advice when they get out of here, who care about this, and let's see if they want to lead the thing. But we found two, Caden Schultz and Elizabeth Reed. Caden is a junior now, and Elizabeth is a senior who has a full-time job already as a financial advisor, all lined up. And the two of them together pulled in some of their friends, and they've got an executive team of, I think, 6 altogether. We even got a creative person for graphic design involved. And they have now gone to a block party and sold their club and spread the word. And they have over 100 members already. So brand new club, 100 members. And what they're going to do is they're going to set an agenda on topics that resonate with students, that go beyond what we're doing. I think to have this student run club and have their energy to help promote, they're also helping get the word out, right? Yeah. About this thing. So they're going to drive the agenda. They're going to get the word out. I think they're a huge part of this whole thing. And in my 15 to 20, I was factoring those 6 or 7 kids in because they're just amazing.
Yeah, that was another, oh my God, moment of what is really happening here, because this all-star team of students just lined up, and they're sitting in a room suddenly all together talking about this club. And even Caden, who had done a previous club, basically his first year, was
Right.
familiar with all of the process to get everything going. And so when they got their stamp of approval, they made it look so easy, where I think other clubs have taken 3 or 4 times to get in
Right.
front of the committee to give them satisfactory, and I think they got up, answered a couple of questions, but because they were so organized, it was done.
And this is just, I love the little nuances of this. He didn't, the club he launched when he was a freshman was the ping pong club. We didn't have a ping pong club. So he knew how to put together a club. It was a club he wanted because he loved ping pong. So you're right. He knew all the gauntlets that had to be gone through, and it wasn't his first rodeo. And now the fact that he's learning that he loves personal finance, he was perfectly positioned for this. And just being around Caden, you'll just get energized, as well as Elizabeth. They're amazing people.
Absolutely. All right. So we've got an exciting academic year coming up. What would you say, and this is something that we'll talk about, but is there anything that somebody listening can do to join or engage, or how to get connected? Maybe if they're out of school, or maybe if they're from a different university, what would be a good way to engage what we're trying to do here?
Yeah, I think anybody who wants to know more, if they're from a different school, could certainly reach out to either of us, and we'd be more than happy to share. I got to learn stuff because a wonderful guy at IU was able to willing to spend time with me and tell me a little bit about what they had done. So we want to spread that as well. I think Butler, here's my biggest worry about, well, we'll make mistakes. It's not even a worry, but I'm going to be curious that it's getting the word out. It's getting the word out across the university,
Yeah.
because students are bombarded with so many things that get thrown at them. Why not do this? Why not do that? So in the clutter of all that happens as the academic year begins, will they even notice that this is happening? We're trying to get the word out in every way possible, but I think the challenge is going to be spreading the word outside of the School of Business.
Yeah.
Like, inside the School of Business, you and I are walking around all the time, and this is thought of as a business thing.
Mhm.
But getting the College of Ed, the College of Pharmacy and Health Science, all the liberal arts and sciences college to be engaged in this. We're working through the deans to spread the word, but anybody who can help us spread the word and just show up at your sessions, particularly if they go to your money talks, then they'll get it, and then they'll see what else is available. So
Yeah.
I think our biggest challenge is just getting people to pay attention and see that it's even there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so if anybody knows of anyone at the Butler that, and this is what I've tried to encourage students too. It's like, look, if you have me in class, I'm sure you're probably sick of me. So just tell your friend who's not in the business school that a little bit of me goes a long way. So come to that presentation. We get the BCR credits. So at Butler,
Yeah.
there's the Butler cultural requirements. They have to attend 8 different events by the time they graduate. And sometimes students drag their feet on that, I've noticed, as their advisor. And so I always say these money strong presentations are a good alternative to what else is out there. And I'm totally fine being the least worst option out there. And you don't even have to be the best, just have to be the least worst. And if they don't even want to talk about money, it's still the least worst option. So we're encouraged, and we're going to be developing all of this content as well and making it accessible to students online. And the idea would be to try to make it available to the Butler alum who are just out of school, who want to use some of the budgeting software or would benefit from some of the materials. That would be ideal. And we'll try to make that available for free to the Butler alumni as well, because we want to also see, we have options for anybody who needs help, but then we also have platforms on bryanfoltis.com that you can actually click on and ask a question. And so you can fire away any questions that you might have. And then eventually what I would like to see coming in are the successes. So the students who are paying off their student loans, we want to be there celebrating with you. We want to be there out front, leading the charge on the successes, as well as some of the questions and struggles that we're having.
Yeah. And I would just say really quickly, what I'm trying to tell myself is what we tell our students when they do anything new. Have some fun, go out there, just get on with it and do it and learn from your mistakes and learn from your successes both. And we're going to have success, we're going to have mistakes, but I think a year from now, some kids will have gotten helped. We will have learned a whole lot more and know a lot more than we do right now. And hopefully somebody's going to be better just because we gave it a shot. I'm, and I got a new friend as a result. So thank you, Bryan.
Absolutely. Thank you. Randy Brown, you've been amazing to work with, and hope to have you back on here, and we'll share our stories, the good, bad, and everything else in between.
Yeah.
And
Report back, right?
absolutely. But thank you very much for all that you're doing and for joining here today, spreading the word, and we'll let you go. Thank you so much.
Onward. Yeah. Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Bryan Fultis Behavioral Finance Podcast. We hope you found our exploration into the fascinating world of human behavior and finance both enlightening and thought-provoking. Be sure to subscribe for future episodes. And until next time, stay curious and financially savvy.